We all experience stress from day to day, and we all experience stress to varying degrees of intensity. But to have any chance of coping with stress, it's really important that we know how to identify it. So in this video, I'm going to share 4 common types of stress identified by Dr. Karl Albrecht and suggest some very practical tips for managing them. Now, these 4 types of stress include 1. Time stress, 2. Anticipatory stress, 3. Situational stress, and 4. Encounter stress. So if you want a better understanding of each, and you also think you'd benefit from some practical tips on how to manage them, keep watching. Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm a husband, dad, pops, coach, and counselor. And on this channel, I share tips, ideas, and practical tools designed to help you succeed in life. Okay, so the first type of stress identified by Dr. Karl Albrecht is time stress. So let's start there. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the amount of tasks you have to do in a day, and maybe the lack of time it seems that you have to do them? Well, if you have, you've no doubt been impacted by time stress, and it will be no surprise to you to know that it's one of the most common types of stress we experience. Some simple examples of time stress might include things like rushing to get your children ready for school in the morning, worrying about an important deadline, or just looking at a list of jobs that are simply unmanageable in the time you've got to do them in. The thing is though, if left unmanaged, time stress can quickly lead to feelings of failure, which can also leave you feeling hopeless, trapped, and inadequate. So it's really important to address them. One way to tackle this type of stress is to learn some effective time management skills and to get better at organizing, planning, and working more efficiently. Now, one technique for this is to use the Eisenhower priority matrix, which was developed by President Eisenhower, who was considered a master of time management and supposedly once said that the most urgent decisions are really the most important ones. So his approach included creating 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 was important but not urgent. Quadrant 2 was urgent and important. Quadrant 3 was not important and not urgent. And quadrant 4 being urgent but not important. Now, he would then place each of his tasks into one of the 4 quadrants as a way of prioritizing them. Now, once done, he would then get to work on those in quadrant 2, which were the urgent and important tasks. See, the others then would either be done at a later date or delegated to someone else. And the idea here is that this method is about being able to distinguish between what is important and what is urgent and giving your attention to what is important and urgent. Make sense? The second type of stress is anticipatory. Now, anticipatory stress stems from a concern for the future. Now, this could be an event like a presentation, a job interview, or even a romantic date. Yes, a romantic date can lead to anticipatory stress. Put differently, anticipatory stress is when you experience an increased stress response in anticipation of a difficult or unpredictable event, and is typically connected to a fear of failure or an underlying belief that something won't work out or that you'll get something wrong. Now, a way of tackling anticipatory stress is to follow a simple step. It starts with remembering that the stress you're experiencing relates to a future event. It's not actually happening. And another step is to recognize that the thing you're fearful of happening doesn't actually have to happen as you imagine it will. You could use positive visualization to imagine an alternative outcome, and this can also be a helpful way of dealing with this type of stress. Another helpful approach is to grow more comfortable with failure and develop a growth mindset, as this will lead you to feeling less fearful about upcoming events. And one last thing you could do to deal with anticipatory stress is to make contingency plans by considering different possible outcomes. Just running through various scenarios will help you to plan more effectively, feel more in control, and give you a greater sense of confidence in what you're doing. Right, before I share the last 2 types of stress and how you can manage them, if you're finding value in this video, if you're finding it helpful, go ahead and click the like button now. Right, the third type of stress is situational stress. Now, this will probably be the most common form of stress you'll experience from day to day, as it often involves anything that happens to you or around you that makes you feel worried or anxious. Situational stress is typically short-lived and temporary, and is normally associated with a sudden announcement of some kind that causes you to feel threatened or at risk. A good example of situational stress would be 1, discovering you've gone into your overdraft, and 2, going out to start the engine and your car battery is flat and you need to get somewhere fairly important. So the thing to note about situational stress is that though the thing causing you to feel stress might be short-lived, your thoughts and feelings surrounding it are usually so intense that they can impact you beyond the stressful event itself. What's also helpful to remember with situational stress is that it will normally relate to something that is outside of your control. Again, things like road closures, job loss, conflict, or any kind of emergency are all perfect examples of situational stress. Now, because it happens unannounced, not only is situational stress the most common, but it's probably also the hardest to manage, as it triggers your automatic fight or flight response, which unfortunately, if you are unable to manage it, can lead to you making poor decisions that might result in unhealthy outcomes. So how can you manage situational stress? Well, it starts with developing an acceptance of the fact that there will always be things outside of your control. Learning to accept the reality that giving mental and emotional energy to situations that you have no control or power to change can be a game changer. So once you've come to terms with this reality, learn to recognize some of the physical signs that your body gives when you're triggered. For example, increased heart rate, knots in your stomach, sweaty palms. Then breathe and remind yourself that it's okay to let things go. The fourth of Albrecht's stress types is encounter stress. So let me ask you this. Have you ever felt worried about answering your phone when a particular person calls? Or how about feeling nervous about attending an event when certain individuals or groups of people are going to be there? If you have, then you've probably experienced encounter stress, which is usually caused by you feeling anxious about interacting with someone you either don't like, don't feel comfortable around, or who you think is unpredictable. Encounter stress usually happens when the number of challenging interactions with this person or group have led to you feeling emotionally and or mentally drained. And because of this, you might find you start avoiding them and seeing erosion in your relationship. So 2 things to consider when managing encounter stress are 1, recognizing your limits. In other words, knowing when you need a break and being willing to put boundaries in place to help maintain your emotional and mental well-being. And 2, developing empathy so that you can become better at seeing things from other people's perspective. This in itself can help you with managing encounter stress. Right, there you have it. 4 types of stress and some very simple, practical tips on how you can manage them. Here's a quick recap of the 4 stresses that we've covered. 1, time stress, which can actually be managed by becoming more organized. 2, anticipatory stress, which you can start to manage by becoming more comfortable with failure. 3, situational stress, which you can manage by learning to accept that you cannot control everything, and there are some things that are beyond your power to change. And 4, encounter stress, which can be more effectively managed by putting healthy boundaries in your life. I really hope this video has been helpful. If it has, please like and share, as this helps my channel to reach more people. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon so you can be notified of future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Rooting for you. Be well.